Back Clayton, the drop of the green, he took a lead from the outside pole, leaving the rest of the field in his wake. Building an extraordinary lead from the start was really incredible, as just 4 days prior he all but destroyed his car in a practice session. As Clayton began to build a 20-second lead, other drivers dropped out, including Keith Lively, Clayton's only real competition, who spun his pole sitting wrong while running second. Rennie Clayton rewarded his hard-working crew by winning his first Formula Atlanta championship, and combined with the Central Division title and his win at the Chicago Region June Sprints, he got the coveted Triple Crown. Atlantica's next on Speed. Without question, at SCCA's national championships, Formula Atlantic is the fastest class. These are ground effects Formula missiles. But this is relatively old technology, an older Swift chassis, and that makes the young David Wilcox a bit of a hero. He's been blindingly quick in his car here this week, and in his division, Midwest, he's put together a string of wins. He was 4th here last year. He'd like the podium, better still the top of it. But he's got to deal with Keith Lively, who last year here set a new track record on his way to pole. He also had pole in 01. He's had podiums, but never a win. Keith, too, would like to climb the top step of that podium. But for him to do that, Jim Trado, he's got to deal with a guy who runs south of Keith's SCCA border.
The Southern Pacific Division is loaded with talent, including Dan Selznick in Formula Atlantic. He's done nothing but pass 3 championships in a row in Formula Atlantic in the division. He has 4 wins, including Laguna Seca this year. His only trip to Mid-Ohio last year was to the Runoffs, where he captured a silver. This year, nothing but gold will do for the furniture businessman. Now, to his right is Ben Beasley. He's been racing here since the 80s when he ran an AMA motorcycle race. Last year, in this very class, he ran a different car and had gearbox problems. To solve that, in late July, they decided to thrash and get this car ready. You can tell by the carbon fiber bodywork they haven't had time to paint it. He barely qualified for the runoffs. He was running second last year. He certainly wants to get a podium finish here in his home state.
For the 41st time, the moment has arrived to decide the national champions of the Sports Car Club of America. It's the 11th edition here at Mid-Ohio of the SCCA Runoffs, and today we will duel the fastest of all the machines. In the SCCA category, it is Formula Atlantic. Welcome to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, everybody. Lexington, Ohio, as it says, right in the heart of a beautiful, beautiful state. Great to have you all with us. My booth partner today, Jim Trado. Tell us a little bit about this track.
This racetrack is very challenging for this very quick open wheel division. The passing zones are here going into turn number 2. They'll carry a lot of speed into that corner. As they go down the back straightaway, it's all about setting up for turn 4, the primary passing zone for these guys as they make their way down through the S's. Turn number 9, here's another trouble spot. If your car's not perfectly balanced, it'll make it all the way through to the carousel. You'll have to catch yourself and not get passed by anybody else as they head back to turn 1.
Without a doubt, it is a very, very busy track. And for more on what's going to be unfolding, let's take a look a little bit on the Formula divisions here.
Well, these are single-seat open-wheel race cars. They're rated on performance potential, but really, if you think about it, they are really super fast. A number of rear wing configurations. Looking at the ground effects, they're superior to any other division here at the Runoffs. A variety of engine and chassis as well. So we're not talking just Toyota engines. There's a lot more diversity in a very, very fast field.
Fast indeed. The track speeds here, the track record, exceptionally quick as well. And one of the big stories, of course, is always the guys that are up front. With more on that, let's check in with one of our pit reporters, Ken Stout.
Hey, that's right, guys. And Dan Cobb started his racing career in 2002 with a Formula Continental car that he campaigned for 2 years. But it was 1 year ago that he purchased this car while helping his brother Will Cobb, who runs in Formula 500. He literally built this car from scratch over the 10-day stint here at Mid-America. Since then, he's had a lot of success. In fact, won his division and also qualified on the pole. Of course, he'd love to cap everything off with the gold here at his first runoff. With more, a little farther back in the pack, let's go to my colleague, Chris Neville.
Ken, I'm back here with one of Dorsey Schrader's good friends, Bernie Stunier. Bernie is a longtime supporter of the Atlantic Series. In fact, this is his 8th runoff in a row. This guy loves the Atlantics. What does he love? He's got the need for speed, and he said there's nothing faster out here. He needs to be in an Atlantic car. He has his best finish of 4th a couple years ago. He doesn't quite think this older Swift chassis is what's going to be able to get him up to the front today, but he thinks with all those years of running in Atlantics, he's going to hopefully be able to get by some of these guys who are here for the first time. Next year, we should see him in a newer car, and hopefully he can get that podium that he's always dreamed of.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. And, of course, experience plays a huge role in success when you are dealing with the pressures of going after a one-time, one-shot national championship. And when we come back, the green flag will be unfolding shortly in Formula Atlantic.
There's nobody better than George Strait.
The Runoffs, the Olympics of motorsports. Great to have you all with us. Formula Atlantic will be unfolding very, very shortly. And let's get you to the starting lineup. Good field turning out for this national championship this year. You take a look, Dan Cobb on pole. A couple of guys very quick, the silver medalist last year. Dan Selznick, the young David Wilcox, and a very old Swift. Ben Beasley, lots of CSR records. The big story, maybe the gentleman there in 10. He has last year's track record. He's always fast. Got problems here this weekend, obviously. In 14th, Jacek Luka, the central, or his divisional champion, lots of wins, but comes here to the Runoffs, finds himself buried in the pack a little bit with all his competition. Take a look at the rest of the field. There's another guy at the very back of the pack. It's a bit of a surprise as well. Pat Witherspoon won the Midwestern division and has not been able to get a time, so he's got himself some problems. Now, I alluded to at the top of the show the young David Wilcox and the fact that he's a bit of a hero. Well, a bit earlier this weekend, Ken Stout talked.
In 1988, sitting inside of this cockpit, you would have found Jocko Cunningham and the Pro Atlantic Tour. Now, it's David Wilcox. And 17 years later, you're still doing a great job with this very old car.
Yeah, it's been a great car. I tell you, we've got a few disadvantages just from the standpoint of downforce, and then also we're carbureted versus fuel injected. But other than that, it's just really been a great car. It's competitive most every weekend we're out.
He'd love to see a career best finish here. Of course, that would put him on the podium if possible, because here he's only finished as far up as 4th.
Tell you what, he's been awfully impressive here. As a matter of fact, on Monday, the first official day of running, he had that old Swift running at the top of the pack. He was fastest in that practice session. Obviously, as others dialed the cars up a little bit, he slipped back in the order just a bit. But Wilcox, very, very quick in that car without any problems at all. Loves driving it and throwing it around this very, very quick track here. Field obviously out on their pace and parade laps, getting ready to go. Warming up the tires. Let's check in one more time down in the pit lane. Chris Neville.
Greg, the battle that we've seen with Stallings and Selznick here at the Runoffs, and I'm sure we're going to see in this race, is really an extension of what's been going on all year long on the West Coast. These two drivers have been battling out, going win for win all year long. These guys are really focused on trying to get the win here. Stallings has hired Alex Gurney to coach him all year long. Selznick, Alex Barron. These guys have really brought in the big guns to help them out with a win at the Runoffs.
Wow, that's a who's who's list of success in the Pro Toyota Atlantic Championship. Those two guys, it's a great story going right to the top.
And Alex Banner, of course, a very successful IndyCar racer right now. And Alex Gurney, come on, what can you say about him? Every level of the sport, he's excelled.
Yeah, both Stallings and Selznick running in the Southern Pacific Division. 1-2 is how they finished. Let's get back down to the pits. Ken.
Hey guys, we got to talk about these cars. They are truly phenomenal. Some of the most technically advanced cars on the property, and they'll carry speeds upwards of 145 to 150 miles per hour. But even more impressive is the ground effects and the speed they'll carry through the turns, and of course the braking as well. Guys?
Well, that's a fact. That is where this class makes up a lot of its time. I mean, Jim Trado, they'll turn on a long, long straightaway. They can get 160, 165. But it's what they do in the corners that makes these things so spectacular.
We pointed out the tighter corners on the racetrack. It is passing zones for these guys. We may not see a lot of passing through the S's, but it's all about setting up, going through madness, heading out that off-camber turn down the back, down to Thunder Valley.
All right, here we go. Starting to form up a little bit. Dan Cobb on the inside, outside. Robert Stallings, the rest of the field. They are looking for the green, rolling into it, and the green flies. 20 laps of Formula Atlantic National Championship action on the way. And not a great start by Stallings. Cobb looking good, but coming right up underneath them is Selznick. Selznick, oh, they touched! Selznick and Stallings bump, and Selznick able to just slip through. Stallings does hang on to third. Another bump. 2 cars off. Big hit. One of them is Wilcox. Wilcox is in the wall. Joining him there is Ben Beasley. And also getting caught out in it is the 09. What an unfortunate development there for Sean Macy. But those two guys are done and couldn't have happened any sooner in the race. I mean, they just got the green. Wilcox's dream is done.
They qualified 4th and 5th, and it was kind of a harried start. You mentioned that Cobb got the jump, but right behind him, they fanned out 4 wide coming down the back straightaway. And as they got to the corner, obviously not enough real estate.
Absolutely not. Let's go back and take a look at it one more time and watch those cars about 4th and 5th.
Jostling for position right in here. We'll see that they're going to make contact as they enter the corner. The left sides go off for the Wilcox car, and he sweeps Ben Beasley right up into the barrier.
Tough break. Not a lot of room. There you see Massey just trying to avoid, and other cars involved. Look at it from this angle.
You'll see a puff of smoke as they enter the corner, then already sideways as both drivers believe they might have had the preferred line into the corner. Wilcox shaking his fist saying, why didn't you give me more room? Beasley's thinking, I need to make up spots immediately, and may have pinched him heading into that corner.
And, of course, as a result, we are now under a full course caution immediately while they're working on the cleanup. There's a good look at Wilcox, and obviously is a little bit frustrated, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. Just going to the wall right now. Beasley standing next to him, some of the other drivers as well. The field now just going to bunch up behind the pace car, and we're going to have to try and do it again. One thing about that area of track, going into the S's, as I understand it, Jim, you can easily run side by side, but when you get to the top of it, you've got to have everything sorted out, but that's exactly what's going to happen.
They're very dirty. We mentioned the speeds in these cars, and trying to get their handle on it, trying to get those tires warmed up, critical point in the race, unfortunately cost 2 of the top 5 guys.
Unfortunate indeed. So we're under the full course caution at this moment. The field's going to pack up, and when we come back to Mid-Ohio, we're going to try and get it started all over again. But these cars are still going to be mighty quick. Don't go away.
The rotary-powered Mazda RX-8.
SCCA Enterprises rolled out the new Formula SCCA class. This Van Diemen chassis was developed to fill a void in Formula car racing. SCCA wanted a car that was cost-effective to operate and stringently regulated so that the competition was on a level playing field. The car has a Mazda 2.3 four-cylinder stock motor which produces 170 horsepower. The car also costs approximately $30,000 and can be run for under $1,000 per race weekend. Over 100 cars have been sold in the United States. However, only 6 are competing here at the Runoffs. Look to this class as a starting point for young drivers who want to move up through the ranks of Formula car racing in the U.S.
And that is exactly what SCCA is all about, and that's what these cars do. Now, you got a good look there, number 39, David Grant, one of those stories. This is a class, right now the cars aren't as quick as the outright Atlantic cars, and they're looking to build it as a national class unto itself. That's what they're developing it toward, and the whole idea is cheap car, a reliable car, one that's easy to run, that gives young drivers, well, anybody really, a chance to get into racing. And David Grant living the dream right now as a result of that.
And they've placed them on the grid as well as their own group, so they may be racing close together, really gaining some experience, engaging each other in those 6 cars in the field.
Absolutely, and just having a fun race nonetheless. There is a look at Beasley's Atlantic. That's interesting. That's that brand new Ralt you talked about at the top of the show. Brand new 41 Ralt RT41 running a Mazda engine, something relatively new in the Atlantic chassis. But let's get down to the pit lane with Ken Stout, who's got a disappointed dad.
Yeah, Ron Wilcox, father of David Wilcox, and also car owner. Not what you wanted here on lap number 1.
No, that's right. We were sure hoping they'd have a clean start and get through turn 1 and everything would be cool, but looks like he got tangled up with Beasley out there somewhere. They set hard into the wall. We tried to get hold of him, no contact as of yet, but we're just waiting to hear now what's going to happen, what's going on.
What a shame, guys. He really qualified very well in that car.
He was phenomenal. Like I said, on Monday, he was fastest of everybody, and he's been driving that car just beautifully. And he and Beasley getting together. He was inside Beasley, Jim, and you almost wonder if up at the top of that, I mean, the natural inclination is to turn in, and if Ben didn't turn in, maybe not realizing that Dave was already alongside him, and they just touched.
We saw Wilcox's car just the front wing ahead of the rollback back there. Disappointing event. Think about the whole week and the time these crews take to get to the race and not make a lap. Man, it's a big heartbreak for the Wilcox family.
Tremendous amount of commitment to go racing all season long, but remember, to do the runoffs right, you have to take almost a week and a half off, and they were here, they were hoping for better, but such are the fortunes of motorsport. Welcome back to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for SCCA's National Championships, the 41st running of the runoffs, and it is Formula Atlantic, obviously, as we got ready for the first start for this very, very quick class. We had a little bit of an incident. We have been under a full course caution. However, pace car lights are off. It pulls off into the now unused chicane area, and we are anticipating going back to green flag. And one thing, with the grooving that they did on the concrete patches of this track, Jim, lateral loads, it gives you tremendous grip, but it eats up tires. They now lost a few laps under yellow, looking for any silver lining. Tire life may be less of an issue.
They continue to weave back and forth, but we'll document it throughout the race, Greg. The concrete patches are in the corners, and they ground them down, and they actually make grooves in them, which loses traction for these cars that need every bit of speed in the corners to maintain position.
Oh, and we got a wave off on the restart, and I would guess the reason might be that Robert Stallings right there in the second place, he moved way outside and made a run. Remember, Selznick was actually the guy who was in second, and Stallings dropped the hammer coming out of the keyhole, and it looked like maybe he had nosed ahead just a smidge before the green flag flew, and of course that's a no.
Balance is everything. We've now gone a number of laps under caution. This is really a 20.5 lap race, but all of this momentum, you got to wonder if these guys who've been here since Monday, some since last Saturday, are calculated down to fuel mileage. This may be a fuel mileage run towards the end of this thing.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, but certainly now they have to continue to just keep their heads in the game while they're just working around here. But it's a pretty amazing story. One for Dan Selznick. Well, here's another great story.
Even at the age of 54, race car drivers still want to raise the bar, and that's exactly what Dan Selznick's been doing this season. With SCCA, he's done a great job in the division, but you've also run a couple of pro races.
It's all about having fun. We're just trying to raise the bar and do as good as we possibly can, bring in the best people to help us run the team, and best driver coaches that we can possibly have, and go out and run a few. We were able to run Long Beach this season in Montreal, finished top 10 at Montreal.
Now, Jim Griffith, also the owner of Polestar Racing Group, has a very successful two-car team, but you guys get busier when Dan comes to town.
Yeah, we sure do, but Dan's a lot of fun to have around. We enjoy helping him at the club level, and then we're able to help him out when he goes pro racing.
Now, Dan has no illusions of becoming a full-time pro racer, but he says if it does happen, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, not at all, and he certainly affiliated himself with a great group at Polestar Racing Group. The young Danish superstar Ronnie Bremer came over this year, got a win at Denver, so obviously it's good. Now it's up to her. What's going to be the call this time? She isn't easy on the field. When they're out of line, they look to be very much, well, we got a pop in the back, but enough's enough, and away we go. We are green as we start now lap 6. And once again, there was an early move, but it looks to no avail. That driver, it's that car that was in the 5th spot, Ashton Yelkin, he was not able to do anything with it. Tucks back into 5th as the field now streams up and into the S's. Oh, nice move attempted around the outside there. That is, I believe, the number 87 of Merrill Swan. Didn't get it done, but a nice attempt right now. Meanwhile, here's our lead group of 3. Cobb in the red number 20, Selznick in the whitish car in the middle, and then Stallings, number 33 in 3rd. They've broken clear just a little bit from the pursuing pack. But Ken Stout right now, Cobb, qualified on pole, but he's had an awful lot of laps to be thinking about stuff.
Well, and I'll tell you guys, it's really a special story because Dan Cobb works with Team Tonise Kasmitz, and Fred Sassy, and they've helped him all year long with the setup. But at this particular race, Team Tonise has been working with the GT5 team, so Cobb's been going it on his own. He looks like he's doing a great job.
Wow, it's interesting to hear all these drivers that are going to the Pro Series and looking for a little help. Tonise Kasmitz is a guy who's had a lot of success, particularly here in Continentals, where he won a national championship. Meanwhile, Yelkin now, that's the number 4 of Yelkin. He has moved up and gone around the number 9 of Randall Cook, running out of the Northern Pacific Division. So Yelkin being aggressive, but look at Cook coming after him. Tucks right in behind, down through the kink. There they go by the start line. Cook trying to affect some sort of move. Yelkin just feints out there, now makes it work. And coming up hard astern is the driver Adahan Koyman, who's trying to take a run as well. Boy, does he run a different line through the top of the S's. Koyman just hooks that curve. Oh, somebody who's off. Selznick. I think, yes, that is Selznick. There he is. He is dead stick right now. Winner of the South Pacific Division, bronze medalist last year.
We noticed the grass underneath the cars. He refired and pulled away. He had an off.
Some sort of an off. You wonder, was there help or did it just happen on his own? But for Dan Selznick, somebody else has gone in as well. That's one of our. That is the number 39 we talked about earlier, David Brandt. And hey, nice try, David, but when you're in the kitty litter here, there's no way you get out when you're that far in without some serious help, mainly because of the ground clearance of these cars, and there's nothing for those tires to grip once you spin them a couple of times.
Crazy start of the race. We saw 3 of the top 5 contenders now before halfway get taken out through various means.
Well, you almost wonder if all those laps under caution in the early going, it doesn't play with your mind a little bit. Things get a bit more urgent. You're getting, you know, all frustrated in the cockpit and wanting to go. And look at this dicing around again. Again, Ashton Yelkin making a couple of rather aggressive moves trying to break the toe of Randall Cook. And that's a fairly iffy area because the rules say, as we watch the battle forming up behind them, and here comes a big move, tempted down the inside. That is Swan. Got it done. Swan, beautiful pass, and sneaks around Adahan Koyman. So Swan, one of the early drivers on the move, and that was just a classic pass, Jim.
That Midwest Series driver really put it on him, and that's an area that is surprising to some that these Atlantic cars can pass in that zone. Great job.
Absolutely, and of course these cars just develop such tremendous grip, and it comes down to whether you have the confidence to exploit that. Certainly he did, and up front, Cobb doing a beautiful job.
So just when I'm thinking, isn't there a car out there I could get excited about? Wham! There's this car with all this stuff. Then as I'm thinking, now here's a car I could see myself in. Wham! There's this other car with all this stuff. 2 cars, the same, yet different. Kind of like those twins I met in Chicago.
The Mazda 3 and Mazda 3 5-door.
So.
Rethink what's possible.
Are you living with Crohn's? Is it putting your life on hold? Help put flare-ups on hold and keep them there. Remicade could help you achieve Crohn's control. It helps many people move forward with their lives. If you have moderate to severe Crohn's disease and haven't responded well to other therapies, Remicade could be right for you.
Remicade is not for everyone. Many people with heart failure shouldn't take Remicade. Remicade can lower resistance to infection. Your doctor should assess your risk of infection, and you should alert your doctor to any signs such as fever, fatigue, cough, or the flu. Serious events, some fatal, have been reported with Remicade, including infections such as tuberculosis and blood disorders. Nervous system disorders and lymphoma have also occurred. Remicade infusions may cause serious allergic reactions, including hives, trouble breathing, and low blood pressure.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Remicade today, because it's your life, not Crohn's.
Hey, Greg White here. On the next Two Wheel Tuesday, it's off to Italian motorcycle manufacturer Benelli and the ever-popular True Grit's 50cc Fun Run. So tune in. It's Two Wheel Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 9 Pacific only on Speed.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're underneath the Formula Atlantic National Championship competition here at Mid-Ohio. This is the start of the race, and watch what happens here. Bit of an incident here. 2 of the top players, Ben Beasley in the black car, the white car of young Dave Wilcox, get together. They are out. That resulted in a full course caution. Got rid of the full course caution, went for a restart, and it was waved off. One of the cars jumped a little bit early, so we went back and tried it once again. This time, green flew, and everybody funneled into the section of the track called the S's. Apparently no problem at this stage, but right there, running in second spot, the guy who was the silver medalist last year, Dan Selznick, got it wrong and half-looped it. He has dropped well back in the order. That continues to be your leader, who's just sort of put everything and everybody behind him with all of these things happening early. And Jim Trado, he is leading right now, the number 20 pole-sitting Dan Cobb.
Would you believe this construction worker just started racing 2 years ago? 2002. Now he's got a great piece, but come on, it takes a lot of talent to get these cars to go fast.
Well, apparently he's got the gift. He also won the Central Division, so it's not like it's a fluke. Here is Robert Stallings, who now sits in the second spot, which is where he qualified, driving the Blackhawk Motorsports Swift 014. This, too, a very trick piece of equipment, and Stallings doing a beautiful job here. A little aggressive on that one start, learned from that wave off, and has just settled in right now. Now trying to put his head down and go after leader Cobb. Oh boy, here we go. This is the battle. These two have been at it since the get-go. The lead car, Yelkin, and here comes number 9. Randall Cook goes to the inside. The problem there is if you get too far over to the inside, you've got to brake sooner because you don't have the radius, the nice open arc in the corner, and it can actually kill you going into that turn. That looks like what happened.
That's what happened to Cook. He lost 5 car lengths almost immediately because his line was so abrupt he couldn't get back on the throttle as soon as the 7 car of Yelkin.
Up and over the exit of the section they call Madness, and that's it. It is a crazy roller coaster ride back there, and those two continue to fight. Yelkin has been fairly aggressive in his defense as well when Cook has closed up a little bit, but so far these two have been racing it very, very clean in this battle for third, and they continue to work now out of the carousel onto the front straight.
And Yelkin has recent experience here. In August, he won the Mid-Ohio National, so in terms of getting comfortable with the racetrack, he certainly proved that. He was one of the guys that had very, very fast runs right out of the box. He's already turned 1 minute 20-second laps the first day, which really kept him up in the top 10, up in the hunt, and the confidence built from there.
Everybody, we had talked a little bit as we get a good look here at Randall Cook running out of Palo Alto, California. We've been talking about the concrete and how they grounded and literally grounded the length of the concrete, so you've got these strips through there, and what grip it's giving to cars that need lateral grip, which is of course what an Atlantic car is all about. Track records are just being blown out of the water. They lapped almost 2 seconds faster this year than they did last year in this class in qualifying. So these cars are really, really flying.
And last year was the first year without the chicane heading into turn 2 or the keyhole. So these guys built up a lot of speed last year immediately. But now with this paving, we keep talking about how they graded it and there's lines in there, but really it smoothed out the corners and they get a lot more speed through the turns.
Well, Anaheim Koyman, the car in the front of your picture with the yellow trim on it, is starting to feel, I mean, huge pressure because the guy chasing him is none other than Keith Lively. Twice a silver medalist here, one of the most talented drivers in the going. Had problems in qualifying, qualified only 10th, and now he is closing up, trying to get by Koyman. This is the battle for 6, and you can see Lively really steeping up the pressure right now, trying to find a way by. Coming up behind them is the number 19 of Bernie Sunier, who we heard from just a little bit earlier. So this battle right now getting real strong for that 6th spot, and Lively is the guy you got to be thinking about as taking a serious run at things, maybe a podium.
As you might imagine, that rear wing creates a lot of downforce. But unfortunately, those slicks don't work too well in the snow. And if you're based out of Montreal, much like Jacek Muka, then what do you do if you want to go racing in the winter when the season is short? You head south, and that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, every year we are coming to runoffs here, and sometimes we have some luck and sometimes we don't.
And you head south, and you love to race in the wintertime as well?
Yeah, we are going every year to Winter Nationals to Florida, and we do quite a lot of races every year.
With 20-plus events a year, there's no question he has a lot of experience, and in fact, a lot more than most of the rest of the field.
Well, he does an awful lot of racing, currently in the 10th spot. He races basically that same car. He's got a different chassis, but it's the same car with some bodywork draped over it in CSR. And with the advantages that car gives him there, he is virtually unstoppable. Here, up against some stout competition and similar equipment, a bit more of a struggle as we saw in qualifying and the like. Just, you wonder, now, how does a guy afford a couple of top flight, full-out modern Atlantic chassis? Well, he's got the patent for bubble wrap.
Is that what it is?
He's doing okay there.
All right. Well, maybe that's his secret, too. Maybe he lines the interior of the car with bubble wrap.
A lot of confidence if you run a little wide.
Carry it through the corner.
Some great racing here. Look back through the pack a little bit, and this is a great section of track here. There's our leader, Cobb, and he's coming up to some traffic, but he doesn't have a lot of groups in front of him, so we can sort of swing through. And as we watch Cobb work, oh, well, that's some help. Oh, Cobb's off! Leader is off! And I think he simply got distracted by that driver in front of him going off. You can see the frustration, and if Cobb hadn't gotten frustrated by it, he would have been able to go by. There is Tonis Kazimits right there, who is a tremendously gifted driver and obviously coaching. But for Dan Cobb, I think he's going to beat himself up just a little bit about this, because I think he let that car going off in front of him just distract him for a little bit, and that turn he was in, Jim, is absolutely pure commitment.
The blue car that was involved was the 39 car of David Grant, and as they went through that corner, we didn't quite catch it, but there was contact because one car went off, and you can tell by the reaction. It was not a pleasant experience. Let's take a look here. Coming through the corner. All the way off the racetrack. You're right, exactly that. He got off right there. You saw him hit the gravel, trying to make his line back, and as he tried to get back on course, locked it up and found the tires.
Well, sometimes what happens when you're chasing a guy and you're trying to set him up, if you have to remember, drive your line. And if the guy's running a little wide and you're right up with him, you might have the just the instinct to go with him a little bit, and suddenly he goes off and you go, uh-oh. And I really think that's what happened.
If I'm not mistaken, that's the first car he came upon to get past him, was the car number 10. Excuse me, I was incorrect. That's Keith Grant. But it may be the first car he was coming up to lap in this race, where he had a clean line. He was focused on his line. There was a car ahead that got off just in front of him.
Well, and like I said, that corner is we've got, that's the 17, I believe, of Dave Blake. He is off track as well, and that's not going to be good because he's still partially on course right there, and that's going to be certainly a local yellow flag at that station. And when the car's partially on course like that, generally they like to come out and get that. Well, at least he's helped with his own cleanup. The corner workers always appreciate that. And Jim, let's take a look at what may happen there.
David coming through the corner was in the 8th position, and look at him get skyward. Down off of that corner, almost a blind turn. He got the rear wing of the car ahead, but what a scary ride for Bleak.
Well, it looked to me, like he was driving what was his line exiting the turn, and when the other guy came across, they just clipped. You're not used to backing up on a racetrack like that. That's got to get you thinking some funny thoughts. But again, up and out of the way right now. And I'll tell you what, you see the corner workers running there. These corner workers, and all the volunteers are phenomenal, but these corner workers do everything within their possibilities to keep it from going full course yellow. And they'll put their bodies in harm's way to go out and lift the car off the track, get it into a safe spot if they can, to let the racing go. And unfortunately, for this gentleman, well, better days ahead, one would certainly hope.
And as he goes past each workstation, as you mentioned, he's getting checked. Hey, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? The adrenaline's rushing. He doesn't know if his hand's bleeding. He doesn't know any of that stuff. He just knows he's out of the race and very frustrated at that.
Now, this is the guy that he hit. Now,
the rear wing's off.
That's why.
The rear wing is off on Bernie Saunier's car as he goes through the corner. That was the car that he launched off. Oblique got to the back of him, cleaned off the rear wing. No rear downforce. You ain't going to go too fast, too far.
Well, actually, you saw that lower element of the wing laying back and at an upward angle. So, if anything, that was generating a little lift. And you go over that rise there in madness, say goodbye. There is a sad sight, a leader. And it has all come to grief, but that means somebody else benefits. And for number 33, Robert Stallings, well, he's looking awfully good here in the championship chase. For the SCCA Runoffs, the National Championship Chase, Formula Atlantic is the class being contested. It is the fastest of all the classes in SCCA competition, particularly here. And there's the guy who is up front right now. That is Robert Stallings and his beautiful Swift. And he's benefited certainly from some things that have, involved and evolved in front of him. But he's also kept his nose clean and driven an absolutely beautiful race. He's got a pretty healthy margin over the battle for second right now as we are well into the final quarter of this race. And as we watch Stallings, Keith Lively is the guy on the move. He has leapfrogged up into possible podium contention as we are taking a look at Stallings. And what a year he's had.
Stallings finished second in the Southern Pacific Division in 2004. He won 3 national races this year, including at PIR on the road course, Willow Springs, and Thunders Hill. He has track records at California Speedway and Thunderhill, so this guy knows how to get it done. And look at this clean track ahead. This is kind of what we saw with Dan Cobb enjoying. Nobody around him, just getting his pace and getting some distance on the field.
Well, we've seen 2 incidents that were, fairly serious, one involving Cobb, the leader, as we watch some dicing going on here. That is the number 16 right there. And coming after him right there, that is Bill Goldkind and the competition there. But the one thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of blind corners here, and that is what can create some problems. There's Ashton Yelkin and Chris Neville. We are getting down to the end of this thing, and he's currently sitting in a silver medal spot.
Yeah, Greg, Yelkin's just had a really tough week. This team has 3 motors over the course of the week, so they didn't think Lady Luck was going to be on their side for this runoff, but things have obviously turned. They're pretty darn excited. He started out 6th. He's in 2nd right now. He has been to the runoffs before, so this guy is a veteran here, and he's hunting Stallings, who's the rookie, but Stallings does have a good lead on him. I think Yelkin's probably going to need some help with possibly a yellow to catch up at this point in time.
Oh, absolutely. The margin is really substantial. We're running out of race time, and the number 66 of Keith Lively, you see him now involved in some lap traffic, and he had closed up just a little bit on Yelkin and then got caught in traffic and it has caused him some big problems here. He needs to get by here, but that still is going to leave him, as you see the margin there, over 2 seconds back. Lively has got to find something right now to have a shot at better than a bronze.
And last year, Keith was in second spot, pushing the envelope and spun out. How many sleepless nights do you believe he may have had, Greg, as he's trying to work his way back to the runoffs, get the national championship? This third place is a great way to restart a charge towards a goal.
And then to come in here and struggle all week and end up qualifying 10th when he set the track record on his way to pole last year. He has been a frustrated gentleman since that last year's runoffs. And then to have the problems here and now to be able to fight back and maybe at least earn a medal here. Really, I think a remarkable story for Keith Lively. We are on our final lap, as a matter of fact, and Lively now clear of traffic. He is third, but he's still the better part of 2 seconds adrift of Yelkin as Lively running it down. And those of you who've been watching the runoffs here on Speed for a while, go back 3 years to 01 when Larry Connor ended up winning the championship, but he did it as a rear wheel started to come off the car. He drove 2 laps with the rear wheel loosening up on the locator hubs. Lively said, aha, I got him, and he lost 2 gears in his gearbox, and he ended up, I mean, hundredths of a second behind him at the finish. So frustration has reigned pretty heavy for Keith Lively, and I think a drive like this up through the pack, even though it's not gold, is going to feel pretty good. But Robert Stallings, just an incredible day to cap off, as you pointed out, a very strong season.
He ran Bondurant School just 3.5 years ago. He got the itch. We saw the early race leader as well getting in charge, Dan Cobb. These guys are only racing 2 or 3 years. Greg, is it a matter of they don't know any better? The history of the Mid-Ohio and the runoffs is coming true to form for this young man.
Well, part of it, and that just pure skill and a smart race, and it pays off with a gold medal for a guy, as you pointed out, who hasn't been running it that long. Just a superb effort, and brings home a gold. And again, he did it by being smart, by being at the right place at the right time and keeping his nose clean. Sometimes that's what it takes. And, boy, look at that fist pump. This is one happy puppy right now. Let's get down to Ken Stout.
Mark Lubin, crew chief, you guys have to be happy. You know, he said that this entire weekend has gone incredibly smooth for you guys.
Yeah, we've had a great weekend. It's been a rough year, and a lot of the luck hasn't gone our way, so it looks like it's changed here today. We're pretty excited. I know Bob's excited.
You guys have been saving it up. You saved it all for this race.
That's right. That's the only place it counts.
They are all smiles, guys, and deservedly so.
Without a doubt. I mean, you know, this may be, we're talking about the driver all race, but remember, this is so very much a team sport. And you may be able to drive the wheels off the car, but you got to have the guys that can put the wheels on the car and get them set up well. And he certainly is going to be celebrating with a crew tonight because as a team, they pulled off a national championship.
Other than shifting, that right hand has remained in the air. He might have arm cramps tomorrow when he thinks about the gold medal hanging around his neck.
That's okay. He just looks down that gold medal and that pain will go away. And obviously, he's going to be celebrating for a long time, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to celebrate for a moment with him and some of the other drivers in this remarkable national championship.
Now through Wednesday at Zale.
To the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where the Formula Atlantic National Championship has been decided. And it was a race, Jim Trado, that started off a little ugly. Some rough stuff happening, but in the end, a beautiful drive.
And when these teams rolled into Mid-Ohio's paddock, they knew they were going to fight for a gold medal. No returning champion made the field. They didn't make the effort this year to return to try to gather another medal. Atlantic's long been involved with SCCA, dating back to 1979. So in terms of experience and these guys getting things together, this series has a lot of history, and it comes true again with another national champion.
And we take a look at it this year. It goes to Robert Stallings with Ashton Yelkin. Remember that great battle he had with Randy Cook for much of the race. Keith Lively stuck in there and stole the bronze from Cook. Merle Swan, very aggressive from the beginning, put together a good run. Here you go a little bit further back in the pack. 19, Bernie Sunier, David Blake back there struggling as well. So some problems there. But the celebrations are beginning down to Ken Stout.
Robert Stallings gets the gold, and you know, I just had a brief second to chat with you before the start of the race. You said, I'm so excited. This weekend's gone so smooth. You were really ready to go racing.
I really was. You know, this is my first time here. We had the pole Tuesday and Wednesday, and we won. Outstanding. I'm so excited. I really am.
Talk to me about the race itself, and especially the start.
Well, Dan, who I race, Dan and I have raced for 2 years against each other. We're always butting heads. He got me on the start, kind of bumped me just a little bit out of the way, which was okay. But then all of a sudden, you know, he got loose, I guess, in turn 6 that was. He went sideways, and that was it. And then I was trying to reel in Dan Cobb, just very slowly. I wanted to be careful, and then all of a sudden he got into it with some little sports car. That was it. And my guy said, "Calm down, just finish now." So I did.
He's always excited, guys. Congratulations, you're a winner here. Let's go to Chris Neville.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Ken down here with second place. Yasin Yelkin, you started 6th, you ended up 2nd. You kept your nose clean out there. Tell us about those opening laps.
It was pretty exciting. I think Ben and Wilcox got together, and before the race, I wanted to make sure that I was in a place where I can use some of the grass rather than the wall, so I ended up in the inside and avoided the incident. And the rest was really, I had a little bit of challenge from white and black striped car, and I don't know the fella's name. And then Keith started coming up real quick, but it was too late by then. I couldn't catch the head of the guy, and he couldn't catch me. But it was a good run. It was worth the come.
Well, things got a little bit spread out there, but if that field bunched up, you think you had had something for Ben Stallings?
I don't know. Like I said, we've been trying different things for all week. We don't think that we have the right setup in terms of the power. He's got some, decent motor underneath his car and newer chassis, but these are all excuses. This is the way it went today, and hopefully next time we'll get him.
Are we going to see you next time?
Oh, absolutely. You'll be seeing me a lot.
Well, these guys had a tough week, but they had a good race today.
Well, that's a fact, and I'll tell you a couple of things that were interesting there was his comment about did he have the speed for Stallings? I don't think so. Stallings' best lap was about a second quicker than the rest of the fields at this point, which tells you how good he was running. The other thing was when he didn't know the name of Randy Cook, reason is maybe the first time he's raced against him. That's what makes this event so very special. You come together, one race, who's the national champ? And it is Robert Stallings.